on information technology and broadcasting. The meeting will be held via video conferencing. We now have a quorum of 4. Those who wish to speak, please trigger the relevant function in the Zoom system and show your face. And you must speak to the microphone on the instruction of the chairman. First item on the agenda, confirmation of minutes of meeting. Minutes of the policy briefing held on the 1st of December 2020 were shared with members, and as of now, the Secretariat did not receive any amendment proposals from members. So I now invite members to confirm the minutes. All right. No objections from members. Thank you very much. Matters arising. Information papers issued since the last meeting. There were 2. The details are listed on the agenda for members' reference. On the 17th of December 2020, Ms. Elizabeth QUAT wrote to the chairman suggesting that an item be inserted into the agenda of a panel meeting to discuss a case of alleged misreporting in an RTHK program, and the administration already provided a written response, so I call members' attention to that. Mr. Martin Liao intends to speak. The floor is now open. Mr. Martin Liao. Please switch on the microphone for Mr. Liao. You may now start. Please hold while we sort out the technical glitch. While we sort out the technical issue, perhaps we would invite Mr. Michael Tian to go first. Mr. Tian. Yes, I hear you. Are we on the first agenda item? Yes, we are on the item on RTHK. We are on matters arising. Mr. Martin Liao. Mr. Liao, can you try again? Mr. Martin Liao, can you try again? Nothing's coming through. We already activated your microphone. So perhaps Ms. Elizabeth QUAT can go first. Am I coming through? Yes. I sent in a letter about the issue of RTHK. And in terms of the complaints against RTHK, you said that you would convene a meeting to discuss the RTHK. And since then, we saw that in the RTHK program of Hong Kong Connection, it was subject to further complaints. And I received complaints from the 4 discipline services workers' unions with regards to bias and untrue reporting of the Castle Peak Bay Immigration Center, and the immigration department staff were infuriated. So in terms of these complaints, they should be discussed as soon as possible. While we wait for the discussion to take place, complaints were constantly filed. And the Communications Authority ruled that the relevant report was an insult on the police. So how would the RTHK deal with them? Would a simple reprimand be adequate? The editor-in-chief of RTHK, Mr. Leung Ka-wing, should be held responsible. Thank you very much for raising this issue. Mr. Wong Ting Kwong. Mr. Wong, thank you. Am I coming through? Yes. I agree with the view of Ms. QUAT. As we all know, in recent days, there were a series of issues with RTHK. For example, they misinterpreted or misreported the words of President Xi, and as such, the meaning was skewed. So was it due to incompetence as professional journalists, and the broadcaster simply said it was a mistake? And there was another report that had to do with canned food. So in terms of errors made by journalists or misreporting, the RTHK did not offer any apology. And it shows that the RTHK did not even accept the criticisms. They are spending billions of public money every year. They have not been faithful to their duty. So the panel should really provide oversight on the government, and the RTHK is one of the government departments, so we must offer proper oversight on RTHK. Chairman, I hope we should have a discussion on this as soon as possible. Mr. Martin Liao, can you try again, please? Chairman. My audio did not come through, and apparently the problem is solved. Mr. Liao, do you have any views on the RTHK issue? I believe we should follow up on that. Like Ms. QUAT and Mr. Wong suggested, this should be discussed at the panel. Thank you very much. The proposal was to discuss the issue of RTHK in our meeting in April, and the Secretariat can compile some background information to aid our discussions. We saw the misreporting in Hong Kong connection, the reprimands issued by the Communications Authority, and in terms of the oversight on the editorial work, the RTHK simply said those were typos or errors, and we would like to look into that. And in light of the epidemic, everyone should stand united. And in terms of the scaremongering hinted in the program, was it warranted? Our plan was to have a discussion in April, but I wonder whether we should have it done in March instead. At the next meeting, the proposed discussion items are information security and subsidy scheme for encouraging early deployment of 5G. And according to the Secretariat, if we are to discuss the issue of RTHK in March, we might need to rejuggle our discussion items. This is a matter of much concern to me as chairman. I had plans to discuss the review of RTH operations in April anyway, and earlier at an earlier question and answer session by the chief executive, she expressed her dissatisfaction. So I wonder whether this issue can be discussed in March instead. And I believe Ms. QUAT, Mr. Wong, and myself are hoping for a discussion as soon as possible. So, Daniel, how viable is it if we are to discuss this item next month? The speaker is not coming through the microphone. I believe this is under the ambit of the Commerce and Economic Development Bureau of the government. And it's clear that Hong Kong Connection and Headliner were subject to complaints, and the reporting of President Xi was flawed with mistakes, and there were issues with the reporting by journalists, etc. So we have a clear idea what we have to discuss. So in terms of the news reporting ethics and practice, so we will include this in our meeting in March, and the CEDB will be present by about 3:15 p.m. and I would consult them to see whether this is viable. Do members agree? All right. Any objections from Ms. QUAT? And I don't see any objections from members. So tentatively, the issues with RTHK will be discussed on the 15th of March, and we would also discuss the review of RTHK operations. Item number 3, date of next meeting. It will be held on the 15th of March. The original proposed items are information security and subsidy scheme for encouraging early deployment, and tentatively we would add another item, or we might postpone the discussion of the second item and instead include discussions on the review of RTHK operation. All right, next item on the agenda, update on smart city development. We shall invite the administration in. We now invite the administration to brief us on the paper. Chairman, I'm glad to be attending the panel meeting to brief members on details of the Smart City Blueprint for Hong Kong, which was published in December last year. According to the 2017 policy address in December 2017, we published the first Smart City Blueprint for Hong Kong, setting out 76 initiatives under 6 smart areas. In the past 3 years, various bureaus and departments and related organizations have been taking steps to implement these measures, among which 40 have been completed or under completion. Our goal is to allow the public to understand the benefits of smart city and innovative technology. Under Blueprint 2.0, we propose more than 130 new and ongoing measures, including open data, remote payment for parking services. Since the first blueprint was published in December 2017, more than 60 were new initiatives. In the paper, we outlined the progress of various measures, such as the smart multifunctional smart lamppost pilot scheme, its implementation, and way forward. The paper also lists out all the smart print or Blueprint 2.0 measures. You may check the progress of various initiatives on our website, and through the real-time city data dashboard, you can access the latest information. And the Blueprint 2.0 also propose a smart village pilot scheme to help villages, for instance, to allow the elderly to visit doctors, etc. And our work has been somewhat affected by the epidemic, and our anti-epidemic work also brought about new ideas to our work. And there is a need to minimize face-to-face contact because of the epidemic, and as such, Blueprint 2.0 contains a new chapter on the use of INT in combating COVID-19, and the government will continue to report various smart city initiatives under the blueprint, such as legislative amendments, progress reports, etc. And finally, I reiterate the commitment of the government in promoting smart city. In December 2017, the chief executive set up the steering committee on INT in order to promote INT and smart city developments in Hong Kong.
The steering committee was chaired by the CE herself, and we regularly discuss the agenda. The senior level of government implemented the blueprint effectively. The Innovation and Technology Bureau and the OGCIO cooperated fully to implement the development of the city initiatives under the 2020 CE's annual policy agenda. Now, members to speak, Michael Tian, Martin Liao, Elizabeth QUAT, Loy Kwok, and Eunice Yong. We have ample time, 4 minutes each, including answer. Mr. Tian. Good afternoon, Mr. Secretary. I'm interested in several issues in the documents on smart environment, as there will be smart toilets. Now, a couple of years ago, I suggested, and it's now implemented in Chun Wan, the 3-in-1 hand washing basins with soap, liquid, and so on. And then there is the Anti-Pest Initiatives using technology. Now in Chun Wan, basically they use rat poison. Now it's been known that ultrasound technology is used to target the rodents' reproduction. Now, is that what you meant? And then you said on smart government, now we implemented previously the smart government procurement initiative. Now, what has been the outcome? Has there been more opportunities for SMEs? And then digital infrastructure construction. In the past 3 years, $900 million were spent, and there is a big data platform and so on. So what does it mean for the general public? We thank Mr. Tian for his question. Now, under Smart City Blueprint, smart government is very important. Now, for our members of the public or tourists, now is that the 3-in-1 toilet that I referred to? It in fact went beyond your expectations. Now, on the smart toilets, it will include users management. We will inform the public. There is the Internet of Things to inform people of the ventilation, the toilet paper, to what extent it's been consumed, and so on. So members of the public can use clean toilets, odorless, and they will know whether long queues are awaiting them. So on the Smart Toilets initiative, we can raise the standards of our public toilets. Now, the contractors that supply the liquid soap and so on, will they be monitored? Now, through the Internet of Things, we can monitor the use of the materials. Now, on some cubicles, there may be some odor due to poor management. Then, with the use of technology, we can detect the state of hygiene. How about the ultrasound initiative against rodents? Now, I do not have information. Please study that. Now, on the rodent problem, right now we use rat baits, but sometimes the locations of the baits might be not so easily accessible. So we can use the internet to find out whether the baits are used up, whether they have to be replaced. So this will help our staff. And then with technology, we can detect whereabouts of rodents. So we can then place the baits at the right places. Now on the innovation procurement, now it's been in place for 2 years. We changed our investment strategy, so we give more higher rating for the smart element or the use of the element of technology. Please speak in another round. And now Martin Liao. Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to ask the Secretary. Now, in building the smart city, now apart from applying technology to facilitate people's living and management of society, how does smart city use technology against natural disasters? Now, at the end of last month, the CE summarized the experience from the anti-pandemic effort, saying that the use of science and technology is used to track infected persons. And the Leave Home Safe, the members, those people who took part, is now over 430,000, and many places now use the QR code of the system. Now, has there been statistics? Now, what is the patronage per facility? Now, is that meeting expectations? And then the anti-pandemic experience has made clear to the government that we cannot just rely on voluntary cooperation. There must be incentives. So we encourage civil servants and visitors to government offices to scan the QR code. Now, apart from that, what is the next initiative to enhance the Leave Home Safe initiative and the use of the app? Now, Mr. Liao is very correct. Now, technology plays a very important role in our anti-pandemic effort, and Leave Home Safe is an example. Now, since we introduced the app, and by now, 520,000 members of public have used the app. Over 60,000 premises have displayed the QR code, and we engaged in publicity and promotion, and we requested restaurants and so on to display the QR code. Now, how to make the app even more and system even more effective? Now, that is a very important target for us, and we encouraged those who go to government premises to scan the code, and depending on the development of the pandemic, at certain premises, we might require users of the premises, such as restaurants, to scan the code before they can enter or patronize the premises, because these are relatively high-risk behaviors. So we will consider such initiatives. Now, apart from the Leave Home Safe QR code, we deploy technology in other ways. Now, after the vaccines are available, now we are going to have an appointment system, because a good appointment system, an effective appointment system, is very important for vaccination effort. So I will invite the controller to speak on this. Please be succinct. Now, our appointment system is to allow members of the public to go on the internet and to make advance appointments, because 2 shots are required. So 2 appointments will be made, so members of the public can go with confidence to the vaccination center. And we are going to cooperate with the hospital authority so that members of the public can record the vaccination center, and then we will issue a vaccination record, electronic vaccination record, to the member of the public for his or her record keeping. Elizabeth QUAT, of course, I very much support the development of Hong Kong Smart City. So in the Smart City Blueprint 2.0, the initiatives therein are supported by me. So early implementation is important. Members of the public are encouraged, are concerned about what effect it has on their lives. Now, government departments introduce new initiatives. Are they the really most needed ones for the members of the public, or are they the merely the lowest hanging fruit? So, so your bureau can prioritize those items where there is the greatest need by the members of the public. Otherwise, the public will continue to be discontented. For instance, in the control and prevention of the epidemic, now members of the public are concerned that after vaccination, apart from being able to move across boundaries, now will the vaccinated person can then be free to patronize restaurants and so on. Now, actually, the scanning of the QR code is rather inconvenient. Maybe you can use cameras and so on. So you can encourage more people to utilize the scheme and be vaccinated. And now with population aging, many elderly persons hold many cards. Now, last year in Shenzhen, they introduced a card for the elderly to facilitate them. So it enables personal identification, various concessions, bank savings services, and so on. And for instance, we have the $2 transport concession for the elderly now, but it has taken the government 2 years, and then you are still going to discuss with the octopus company. Can you introduce a system where you just use people can just use one card to enjoy various concessions, so the elderly don't have to apply for many cards. Now, given population aging, now every elderly person will be able to use just one card instead of many. Now, you have taken up 3.5 minutes. Can the secretary reply? Now, will one card suffice? Now, we actually adopt this same objective.
We just launched the IM Smart platform, and like Ms. QUAT said, we are using a singular app to allow the public to access public services and services of public bodies. And we will continue to make use of innovation and technology to allow the public access to various government services. Well, that's the plan, but the other government departments might not be following the heat. This is akin to our criticisms of the Leave Home Safe app. So by launching a card for the $2 concessionary fare, can you achieve the goals you desire? I think the current approach of the government is piecemeal, and there is no synergy between different government departments. In that case, can you really build a smart government? We have a steering committee chaired by the chief executive herself, and there would be coordination on the work of different bureaus and departments. And the Innovation and Technology Bureau and OGO would be providing the necessary technical support. Indeed, our goal is to provide convenience to the people and to identify the issues faced. And as we said, population aging is one of our main challenges. And we are looking to provide remote services. 6 members are waiting to speak. I will draw the line here. Dr. Low Kwok. Thank you. Chairman, if we are to create a smart city, one key condition is that we must have smart people. I'm not saying that the Hong Kong people aren't smart, but during the social unrest 2 years ago, I think there was an episode that was much memorable. Some people dressed in black took down some of our smart lampposts. The smart lampposts seek to collect various data for the benefit of the people, including traffic data. But the lampposts were taken down, and there were rumors that some certain components in the smart lampposts were manufactured on the mainland, and there was word that data would be transmitted to the mainland authorities. But some people chose to believe in such atrocious claims, and there were people who engaged in vandalism in taking down the lampposts. So, Secretary, given the damage caused to the smart lampposts, how can we take forward the smart lamppost scheme? We visited the Long River Delta and the city of Hangzhou. We saw how they use big data and cloud technology in areas such as traffic management, and it was incredible. So I'd like to see what the government's plans are. Given the epidemic, members of the public had to access various government services, such as applying for vehicle licenses, as well as applications from foreign domestic helpers who must apply for an extension of stay since they cannot go home. And given the epidemic, many applicants face a number of obstacles, and the Secretary said there is fear among the government. So for this kind of e-government services, what issues were encountered and what are the solutions? Hopefully you can offer a report to the panel. And we also want to know how the government intends to take forward e-government services. Secretary, thank you very much. Dr. Low talked about the smart lampposts. Indeed, our smart lampposts were damaged by the black-clad violence, and it jeopardized the development of a smart city, and we were infuriated at that time. But our team worked very hard in coordinating with the relevant departments and units. So going forward, we will continue to implement smart lampposts. At the end of the day, it is a crucial part of smart city development in bringing convenience to the public, so we will continue to take forward the implementation of these lampposts. In the midst of the epidemic, many of our services have indeed been affected. So how can we allow applicants to make various applications without physically visiting different departments? By the middle of next year, for some 400 electronic licenses, applications could be facilitated online. So hopefully we can learn from the experience in terms of promoting e-government services. Thank you. Chairman, I think it's way too long. We should not have to wait till next year. We should allow members of the public to apply for various licenses online, and work is somewhat underway. And I believe a review should be carried out as soon as possible, and improvements should be made in due course. We will implement the 400-odd initiatives next year, and so far, about 50% of the services could be applied electronically. You should review the current issues with the e-government services and seek to improve them as soon as possible. Ms. Eunice Yong. Thank you. I'm particularly interested in smart mobility and smart government, and other members touch upon other government services, and I see that Mr. Sid has been promoting IM Smart as well as the Leave Home Safe app. Some members of the public and the IT sector told us that despite 400,000 downloads for the Leave Home Safe app, why is the take-up rate still so low? I think the problem is that if you create many different apps, the public will be confused. We have the Leave Home Safe app, and we will also be implementing the IM Smart app. So currently, there are so many government apps available, but if we don't consolidate them, the public would be rather confused. So does the government intend to integrate these apps? For instance, the HA has an app, and within an app, there are many smaller apps. So in terms of the future IM Smart platform, are you going to integrate apps from different departments, and how would you promote the platform? So this is similar to the issue raised by Ms. QUAT. How can you integrate the apps? Like Ms. Yong and Ms. QUAT said, we hope we can create a singular app for the public to access all government services. And hopefully it can also allow access to the services of different public bodies such as the hospital authority. For the implementation, I would defer to Mr. Lam. For the IM Smart platform, currently it includes 28 types of applications and access to 21 different government forms. We will continue to introduce more services to the IM Smart platform, and by the middle of the year, it will incorporate about 110 government services. On the other hand, we will continue to optimize the platform so that the public can more easily access different government services. Currently, the IM Smart platform is already equipped with a robotics function or a robo-chat function. And through the function, the public can access different forms for public services. We will continue to optimize the platform so that it will become a one-stop shop for the public to access different government services. Chairman, apart from providing convenience, if we are to encourage the public to use the IM Smart platform, the number of services covered is very important. So by the middle of the year, we will have 110 government services available through the app, but we will not stop there. We will also include HA services as well as services offered by financial institutions in the future. So hopefully this app would become a one-stop shop to allow access to different services. I have a question for Mr. Sid. In terms of the smart lampposts, would you like to follow up, Ms. Yong? Please limit yourself to one follow-up question. If the IM Smart platform is to provide more than 100 services, I hope there would be district facilities available to educate the public on the use of such app, because not everyone knows how to use the electronic services. Thank you very much for the reminder. And in terms of the administration of vaccines, we would deploy ambassadors in various centers to promote the IM Smart platform so that people waiting for vaccines can also sign up for the IM Smart platform, and the electronic vaccination records would be integrated into the platform. So in terms of smart lampposts, there were people who had doubts about the CCTVs or cameras, and they were concerned about personal data privacy. And as such, there were calls to lower the resolution of our HD cameras to standard definition. I think that would not be logical. We are talking about the public arena, so it had nothing to do with privacy. For those who did not commit any crime, they should not be concerned at all. So are you going to lower the resolution of the HD cameras?
I agree with your views. Now, in the process, the smart lampposts make use of technology to monitor the environment, the traffic volume, and so on. Now, of course, we understand the public are concerned about privacy. Now, we are studying using LIDAR to laser technology to replace the existing radar detectors. Now, so we try to strike a balance. Now, it wouldn't be for technological limitation that we fall behind in the smart lamppost initiative. Now our time is up for this part of the agenda, and so there are no motions to deal with. So we come to the next item of agenda. We thank the Secretary for attending. So we come to the next item. That is the migration arrangement for the television broadcast frequency channels. So the CED Bureau officials are already here. Or they are already with us. Good afternoon, Mr. Leung. Earlier, members have expressed concern about the performance of RTHK, and I accept their views. So we need to discuss the issue in advance. So we will try to review the matter on the 15th of March. Now, perhaps we can postpone the item subsidy scheme for use of 5G, delay that by 1 month. Now, we understand members' concern about RTHK matter. Now, last week, in the question and answer session, the CE said that with regard to RTHK, we are undertaking a review of management and governance that will take us about 6 months, and the time is almost up. So after the review is completed, we will report back to the LegCo, and I have a proposal. Now, 2 weeks ago, we issued a consultation document on the real name system for stored value cards for phones. Now, we have received members of the public's views. Some people saying that the consultation period is rather limited. So there is the Chinese New Year in between. So maybe we will extend the consultation period. And it involves making of subsidiary legislation a regulation. So we like to hear members' views. So we're thinking that in the March meeting, rather than talking about 5G, instead we can discuss the real-time system for phone cards, for SIM cards. So we plan to extend the consultation period for 2 or 3 weeks so that we can hear members' views. Now on RTHK, we understand the public and members are very concerned. Now in the review of governance and management, when we have a report, we will discuss that with members at the same time. So are there any comments on this proposal? I'd like to ask Mr. Leung. Now, you said that the review period is coming to a close. When is that? The review is ongoing. We are finalizing the draft. Once it's completed, we will report to the panel. I do not have a specific time yet. It won't be long, as the CE said. It's quite close. So when we have conclusions about how to follow up, we will inform you. Now, in the Q&A session, the CE said that back in September or August last year, they already started doing the review of the RTHK matters. And now you say the period is almost up. The conclusion is close. So we started in mid-July. So as the CE said, the real period is coming to a close. So if you started in mid-July, then by 15th of March, your report should be ready. So many members of the public are concerned about expediting the process. So maybe you can postpone the 5G items, and you said you need more time to consult about the SIM card. So we will postpone the 5G item, and you can speed up the RTHK item. Now, I cannot give you a firm answer, but I will reply to you. Now, Martin Liao wishes to speak. Mr. Liao? 2 minutes, including answer. Now, actually, I was going to speak on the next item of agenda on the migration arrangement for TV channels. Elizabeth QUAT, on next item of agenda, parting. Now, at the next meeting, we also discuss information security. Now, we discuss information security quite often. Now, may I agree that we also discuss SIM cards, and along with the RTHK matter. So we will discuss those 2 issues and postpone the other 2. Now, if we wait for the entire report to be completed, that's a bit late. So we can discuss the 4 cases of complaint on how you're going to investigate and to take disciplinary action. Now, on the overall governance and management, you can discuss that in April, but we must follow up on the complaints in March. Mr. Ma Fong Kwok, Which item are you going to speak about right now? Please turn on the mic for Mr. Ma. We can't hear you yet. Mr. Ma, has the mic been turned on? Okay, please speak. Just now, I said some members asked twice, so please tell me why later. Now, on the Blueprint 2.0, we've already concluded our discussion of that item, Mr. Ma. You haven't indicated your wish to speak. Now, we come back to this item. Now, you heard my view and Ms. QUAT's view. So maybe we can adjust the agenda. We can take out the information security and early use subsidy scheme for early use of 5G, and we will hear your view on the real name system for SIM cards and also the 4 cases on RTHK. May I add another word? Now, I just said that the review is close to completion. Now, I cannot give you a firm time. Now, if members wish to discuss complaints about the LTHK, the LESCO can decide what it likes to do. The government will try to cooperate. Thank you for your cooperation. And on SIM cards, if we can discuss that on the 15th, we can issue a. Now, if we we can extend a notice to extend the consultation by about 3 weeks. Now, TV broadcast frequency channel migration arrangement. Mr. Leung, I will speak a few words and then the Communications Authority will brief you. Now, today we report our work in 2 areas. First, the implementation of the digital TV broadcast, the arrangement which we implemented in November last year, and we ended the analog TV service. Now that is concluded. Now most members of the public did not feel any inconvenience or any significant change. So that scheme went ahead smoothly, and we are now going to implement the TV frequency channel migration so that we can vacate valuable frequency bands for 5G or other high value added telecom services. And that will support the overall IT and smart city initiatives in Hong Kong. And the various broadcasting organizations are prepared, so it will be completed by 1st of November this year. So I will now, Mr. Esmond Chu of the Communications Authority to brief you. I have a PowerPoint. Now I will tell you about the details of the migration scheme. Now, last year on the 1st of December, we have ended the analog signals. Now we have now entirely migrated, changed to the digital system, TV broadcasting system. Now we have undertaken broad publicity and education. There are the various APIs and advertisements to remind those who are previously reminded ASO users to prepare for DTT. And we have now over 25 households have benefited from the Community Care Fund assistance scheme. And now the progress has been smooth. Now, after ASO, our next scheme is to clear to the 600 to 800 megahertz bands and to vacate them for 5G and other initiatives. And we expect that later this year we will auction the relevant bands. Now, since some of the TV companies are still broadcasting on the 600 to 800 bands, megahertz bands, so we're going to migrate them to the 500 megahertz band. So this is the frequency channel migration.
6 programs would be subject to migration, including RTHA 31, 32, and 33, Channel 81 TV Jade, as well as View TV 6 at 96 and View TV at 99. Most households in Hong Kong are using the common antenna systems for the reception, and as such, time must be allowed for the buildings to adjust the common antenna broadcast distribution systems. So we will have a transition period that is from the 1st of April to 30th of November. And during this time, there will be simultaneous broadcasts of both the existing and newly assigned DTT frequency channels. And the channels 81, 96, and 99 would be broadcast simultaneously. And we will offer a new UHF 37 frequency channel, and for channel 31, 32, and 33, we will assign a new frequency channel of UHF 27. And on the 1st of December, the 6 channels will only be broadcast through the new frequency channels, and the CA has been coordinating the matters in the meantime, and simulcast can begin on the 1st of April. Hong Kong has a total of 12 DTT frequency channels, and the names of the channels are listed on this slide. The program channel would not be affected, and those that involve a change in frequency channel are the ones in white: 31, 32, 33, 81, 96, and 99. The channels denoted in the gray symbols will not be affected. If rescanning of channels is needed, viewers will not completely lose the signals. They will still have access to channels such as 82, 83, 84, and 85. And if they have current access to channels 76 and 77, they would not lose access to those channels. Viewers can continue to use their digital TV sets or set-top boxes to receive the channels. They would not need any new equipment. But if they wish to have continued access to the 6 affected channels, they must adopt the relevant steps. Most viewers are receiving signal through the common antenna broadcast distribution systems, or CABD systems, and as such, the property management companies or incorporated owners committees must engage system contractors to reconfigure the systems, and upon reconfiguration, if necessary, viewers might need to rescan their channels within a specific time in order to access all the channels. even without reconfiguration or rescanning, they would still have access to the channels in gray, like I said before. A minority of viewers in Hong Kong would use self-provided TV antenna like fishbone antennae on the rooftops, including residents of village houses, bungalows, and old tenement buildings. Generally, they do not need to replace the existing receiving antennae and equipment, and no additional cost is incurred. After midnight on the 1st of December, if they cannot receive any of the program channels affected, they may rescan the program channels on their digital TV. Even if they do not, they would still have access to some of the channels, such as 82, 83, 84, and 85. The Communications Authority plans to launch a publicity program to disseminate information on channel migration and how the public can access all the channels. Publicity would take place in phases. First of all, for industry stakeholders such as broadcasters and operators, we held a briefing session last year to update them on the situation, and we will also convene technical meetings in terms of building management companies, incorporated owners and managers or other premises such as hospitals, schools, care centers, etc. They will be informed of the channel migration details. We will also liaise with the district offices, and through building management seminars, we would approach the DMOs and IOs to educate them on what they have to do and to explain the relevant arrangements to their residents. And for public housing estates, we will work with the Housing Authority and the Housing Society on the relevant work. In terms of the general public, we have different publicity plans in place. Starting from the second season, we will have TV and radio announcements in the public interest. In order to promote the details of the channel migration, we will also set up a thematic web page to provide relevant information to the public, including how rescanning can be carried out. We will also utilize other online and offline publicity means such as social media and newspapers. And we will also invite Home Affairs Inquiry Centers to distribute pamphlets. And in terms of public housing, we will strengthen liaison with the HA, HS, BMOs, and IOs so that they would promote the relevant arrangements to residents. As for residents of 3 new buildings, Hong Kong Post circulars would be issued to remind them of the program channels affected by the migration exercise, and through district or local organizations, we would get in touch with residents of 3 new buildings on the rescanning arrangements. For residents of village houses, we will liaise with Hung Yi Kuk and rural committees to distribute flyers and posters in rural areas. OFCA will continue to keep track of the feedback and response of the public in respect to channel migration and strengthen our publicity as needed. We will liaise closely with relevant broadcasters to coordinate our publicity work. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. 2 members intend to speak first. Mr. Martin Liao, followed by Ms. Elizabeth QUAT and Mr. Ma Fengkuo. 4 minutes each, please. Mr. Liao. Thank you, Chairman. The TV broadcast frequency channel migration arrangements seek to migrate the frequency channels and to vacate the 600, 700 megahertz bands for services such as 5G. And for such exercises, there's always a transitional period, and there are 3 main elements. First, coverage. 2, transmission speed. 3, capacity. and the three are needed to support smart city development in Hong Kong. The government once said that mobile service operators expect that outdoor 5G coverage in Hong Kong would reach 90% by the end of the year. So in terms of the coverage ratio of 5G, is the current situation in line with government expectations? Can you provide a breakdown on the coverage rate by mobile service operator? And in terms of 5G coverage, it is mainly concentrated in business areas like Central and Western area, Wan Chai, Tsim Sha Tsui, etc. Frequency bands are an important public resource, and after they are redistributed, how would you ensure that mobile service operators can enhance 5G coverage in the less populated or rural areas? Mr. Liao, you asked about 5G services, and this is one of the proposed discussion items for next time. Chairman, the migration arrangements mainly seek to redistribute the frequency bands in order to vacate the frequency bands for 5G services. So how would the vacated spectrum be deployed for 5G? What is the current coverage? Last time you said the target is 90% by the end of the year. I would defer to the Director General. We have 4 operators currently for 5G. The coverage is 70 to 90%. They started providing 5G services in April last year. We are rather satisfied with the progress. As for the 600 and 700 megahertz bands we are providing, they are at the lower end of the spectrum, and as such, they would be very useful in that less base stations are needed to provide coverage for the entire territory. So by the end of the year, we can further enhance the coverage. So in terms of the spectrum auction, operators must promise to reach 90% coverage. However, since the coverage of the bands is very high, and it is important to provide coverage to the more remote areas, part of the spectrum is used for indoor coverage. For very busy areas, even with space stations, speed might go down as the number of users go up, and sometimes there could be hiccups. And as such, we would allocate half our spectrum in indoor areas such as MTR stations, major MICE venues, and shopping malls. Hopefully, we can enhance the network capacity so that even with a large number of users, network performance could be improved. So the channel migration arrangements seek to achieve these 2 goals. Any follow-up questions, Mr. Liao? I have none. Thank you. Ms. Elizabeth QUAT, please. Chairman, you need owners, corporations, and owners committees, as well as property management companies to coordinate the work, and you must engage system contractors to install new filters, amplifiers, etc. But the fact is we have a lot of 3-nil buildings with no PMOs or BMOs or IOs. So how would you provide assistance to these buildings in terms of reconfiguration such that viewers can continue to enjoy access to the channels? What about the 3 new buildings? What are you going to do for them?
Now, we have also noted that the 3 new buildings will need our help. Now, in the past, in contacting the contractors and the homeowners, property owners, we learned that for most buildings, they use common antennas. So about 85% of them make use of the common antenna distribution system. Now, the Communications Authority already told us that our publicity is mainly directed at the 3 new buildings. Now, apart from disseminating more information, we will also approach the Home Affairs Department, the district offices, and other district organizations, and we will partner with them in our publicity efforts. Now, so we accumulated certain experience in the full DTT program, and we got the assistance. So in this current channel migration exercise, now for the 3 new buildings, the approach is different from those buildings with common antenna systems. Now, if they use their own fishbone antennas, the process is simpler. They just have to rescan their channels on their TVs. So in the next few months, we will talk to companies of electrical appliances or TVs, and we will provide information and we will produce videos informing people how to rescan the channels. So we will target mainly the occupants of these 3 new buildings to provide assistance to them. Now, charge or fees are involved. There are costs. Now, it costs $5,000 to $10,000. Now, for the common antennas to make the adjustments. So, will you help them regarding the sharing of the cost, Permanent Secretary? Now, for the 3 new buildings, very often they don't have a management office or they don't have a common antenna system. So in that case, they don't have to pay any cost. They just need to use their own remotes for their TVs. And after 1st December, they will find the 12 channels using their own remote controls. Now, if there's management office or ICs or now they can just do that through the maintenance of the building. Then the district office will be glad to offer assistance on that task. So on the migration of channels, this is a major operation, but previously, under various circumstances, for instance, for the buildings with common antennas, we requested them to make adjustments. For instance, when the RTHK offered new channels or when new free TV channels are available, then reconfiguration is required with the help of amplifiers and filters. So the communications authority and the duty and the district office will help the buildings to make these sort of preparations. So in paragraph 24, it says that assistance will be offered. So you will send some people to help them rescan their channels. Will you provide such manpower? You know which are the three new buildings, so you're offering a hotline number for them to get assistance. We do have a hotline, and our staff will man the hotline, informing them how to rescan their channels, and we will contact the different brands of TV producers because the scanning might differ according to the brand. So we will, so that will provide the needed assistance. Now, well, I have such need as well because I have been unable to see one of the channels. Elizabeth QUAT, any other question? No, we don't have any AOB. So we thank the Permanent Secretary for the detailed briefing. We have learned about the progress, so there are no other issues. So AOB, any AOB? Now we hope that the Permanent Secretary will listen to our will heed the views that we expressed, the 4 complaints regarding RTHK. Please try to handle that. And also, we will send a letter on the review of the operation of the RTHK, and maybe that will dovetail with your own review so that we can have a fruitful meeting next month. So this is the end of the meeting. Thank you.